Well, my friends, before we discuss the main topic of this video, I would like to announce the official report from the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation regarding the situation in the Kursk region. So, a few hours ago, the Russian military department officially announced that as of September 10, 2024, the losses of the Ukrainian army in the Kursk region amounted to 11,400 soldiers. As for the lost equipment, these figures are also terrifying. According to the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, since August 6, 2024, the Ukrainian army has lost 86 artillery pieces, 372 vehicles, 636 armored combat vehicles, 75 armored personnel carriers, 43 infantry fighting vehicles, 24 electronic warfare systems, 25 multiple launch rocket systems, 10 anti-aircraft missile systems, and 92 tanks in the Kursk region. The Russian military department noted that over the past 24 hours, the Ukrainian army has lost 300 soldiers and 20 units of heavy military equipment in the Kursk region. It is reported that at the moment, active hostilities are underway in the area of such settlements as Pervaya Oktober, Cherkasskaya Konopelka, and Mykolavka. Official representatives of the Russian military department also noted that Russian troops are in full control of the situation in the Kursk Oblast, and have gained full initiative in this Russian region. Against this backdrop, it becomes clear why the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Alexander Syrsky, officially announced his intention to reduce the front line in the Kursk region, so that it would be easier for the Ukrainian army to keep it under its control. Meanwhile, the influential Ukrainian Telegram channel Resident, citing its own sources in the office of the President of Ukraine, said that on September 9, 2024, during a report to Vladimir Zelensky, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Alexander Syrsky, declared that the Ukrainian army had completely lost the initiative in the Kursk region. According to him, the Russian army was not only able to stabilize the situation, but even began to carry out regular attacks on the positions of the Ukrainian army in the Kursk region, knocking out units of the armed forces of Ukraine from their positions. Against this backdrop, General Syrsky began to persuade Vladimir Zelensky to give him permission for the Ukrainian army units to leave some of their positions in the Kursk region and retreat in a southerly direction, to reduce the front line and be able to provide more effective resistance to the advancing Russian troops. According to General Syrsky, due to the limited number of reserves and equipment, the Ukrainian army will not be able to keep its positions under control in the Kursk region, and the Ukrainian troops will have to reduce the front line by retreating to the south. However, despite such statements by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the head of the Kiev regime, Vladimir Zelensky, continues to demand that the Ukrainian army expand its control zone in the Kursk region and move deeper into Russian territory. Commenting on the current situation in the Kursk region, well-known war correspondent Alexander Sladkov said that the Ukrainian army was completely stopped in the Kursk region. At the same time, he noted that the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, General Alexander Syrsky, is in a very difficult position, since the Kiev regime, led by Vladimir Zelensky, is forcing him to send the last reserves of the Ukrainian army into the Kursk Oblast, to expand the zone of control in this Russian region. However, unlike comic actor Zelensky, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine understands perfectly well that sending the last reserves to the Kursk region will allow the Russian army to invade the Sumy region and enter the rear of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, which will mean creating a cauldron and encircling of the Ukrainian army in the Kursk region. Well-known American military columnist Howard Altman, in his article for the Warzone magazine, also noted the terrible situation of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kursk region. According to him, by the end of this autumn, the situation of the Ukrainian army in the Kursk Oblast will become so critical that the Ukrainian General Staff will simply be forced to begin withdrawing its troops from this Russian region. Howard Altman notes that the military operation of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kursk region is a real failure, since Ukraine failed to achieve all its goals. At the same time, the American expert admits that the Ukrainian army lost the best Western military equipment and practically all its reserves in the Kursk region, while Russian troops almost completely took control of the entire territory of Donbass, approaching the border of the Dnipropetrovsk region at a distance of only 18 kilometers. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian side began to distribute a video that clearly shows how an F-16 fighter jet destroyed some kind of aircraft in the skies over Ukraine. Immediately after that, Ukrainian news resources, bloggers, and propagandists began to claim that American F-16 fighters are quite successfully performing combat missions in the skies over Ukraine, destroying Russian attack drones and missiles. Commenting on this video, Ukrainian bloggers in all seriousness stated that F-16 of the Ukrainian Air Force allegedly destroyed the Russian kamikaze drone Geranium. However, the joy of Ukrainian bloggers and propagandists did not last long. Unfortunately for the Ukrainian side, independent experts managed to prove that the video showing the destruction of a Russian kamikaze drone by an F-16 fighter was fake. The experts managed to prove that these frames belonged to a video game called DSE, Digital Combat Simulator. Immediately after that, Ukrainian bloggers and propagandists deleted this video from their social networks. At the same time, it is worth noting that this is not the first time Kyiv has distributed fake videos to boost the morale of Ukrainians. Let me remind you that in February 2022, Ukrainian news resources began to distribute a video where a Ukrainian pilot with the call sign Ghost of Kyiv, with the help of his MiG-29, allegedly shot down 6 Russian Su-35 fighter jets at once. However, later it turned out that this story is also a fake of Ukrainian propaganda. And the video showing footage of the destruction of Russian fighters also belongs to the famous video game Digital Combat Simulator. Well, the desire of the Ukrainian side to create such fake stories can be understood, especially given the fact that the Ukrainian army still has no real victories on the battlefield.